Hello and welcome to the Mary Houlihan show.
United States actually has more registered soccer players in the world than any other country.
What do you like better, Paraguay or Uruguay?
Don't say the wrong thing. Which is like any...
I see what you're doing. Do you use the chess.com app?
I mean, great question. I do not. That's really all you can do.
Let's make it sound normal.
Yeah.
And anyone who doesn't like this is a terrorist.
Right, and it's just like...
Hello and welcome to the Mary Houlihan show. Today we are joined by comedian and soccer expert Christian Polanco.
Hello. Thank you, Mary.
Hi, Christian. How are you?
I'm good. This is an absolute dream. Thank you so much for having me.
So we're here in Los Angeles. Why are you here?
I'm here because of the World Cup. The World Cup starts this week. I don't know when this is airing, but the World Cup, the USA play against Paraguay on June 12th, and I'm here for a bunch of just soccer-related events that are happening in the city.
What do you like better, Paraguay or Uruguay?
Great question, and it's really the why of the why.
Yes.
If you say.
Why?
Uruguay is historically a better team.
Okay.
Uruguay, fun fact, Uruguay won the first ever World Cup in 19 whatever, whenever that happened. But so serious answer to your fun question, Uruguay.
Nice. We were just talking before we started recording about how, I mean, it's so cool that you have a soccer podcast and they're shipping you out to Los Angeles and a million other cities, and you've
In a shipping crate.
and they fly you to freaking Europe and all these places to do comedy. And you were saying that, like, when you started your podcast 10 years ago, people were like, why are you doing that?
Which is like almost any comic, when you tell another comedian about an idea, it's most of the time it'll be like, well, that's stupid, or why are you wasting your time doing that? But comedians, me and Alexis Guerreros, who you know as well, we started the podcast, and that was our friend. And this wasn't even just like random comedy. It was like our close friends, our peers that were like, dude, you're wasting your time. Nobody cares about this sport.
Wow.
And maybe at the time, significantly less did, but there weren't any comedians talking about soccer in a way that wasn't like calling it gay or calling it stupid. And there, so many comics have bits about soccer, and we just like ingratiated ourselves into the culture of the sport and didn't mock it. And we just like we're laughing with you, not at you.
Well, I just think if anyone was like, no one likes soccer, then like they're extremely stupid, because like everyone in the world likes soccer.
Like, it couldn't be any more the opposite, right? Everyone likes soccer.
Do you think Americans like soccer more now than they did back then?
100%. And it's shown in the fact that when we started in 2015, this wasn't even a job. It wasn't even a thing. And now, like, we had a TV show on Fubo TV for like 3 years, and now we're at Yahoo Sports, and we get to tell jokes and do a comedy podcast about this sport, and we have like an audience that really cares about it. And we're never gonna have like a billion listeners, and that's not the mission. It's just to make soccer fans, especially in the United States, feel seen, and they have an outlet. They have a comedy podcast that they can listen to and laugh up. They can watch the games in the weekend, and then during the week they can laugh about them. But just now that the World Cup is in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. I mean, in 1994 was the first time the U.S. had the World Cup, and that
was the little dog. Little dog mascot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. What? I don't know the name of the mascot, but we have
it's a great looking mascot.
We have 3 new ones if you want to look them up. But I think the U.S. has like an eagle, Mexico has their own mascot, and so does Canada has like a moose or something like that.
Okay.
So But in 1994, the World Cup was in the United States, and it created the Major League Soccer, the league that we have now. And so that 30 years ago, that league started in '96, and now Lionel Messi is playing in Inter Miami, and it's changing sort of the face of American soccer. Another nerdy fact about soccer: the United States actually has more registered soccer players in the world than any other country. So what happens is that soccer sort of known as a kid sport.
Yeah.
You play until you're like 12, and then you play a real sport like NFL football or basketball or something like that. But we have so many people play, and then the difference between in the United States versus other countries that we have something called pay to play. Like, so if you want to play in these like academies as a youth player, your parents have to front a lot of money for all these programs. And in other countries, that isn't the case. Like, if they spot talent and they think that you're good enough, you can join some academy of some club, and your parents are maybe paying like $30-$40 a year for some like little fees and stuff like that. And that is why the United States, especially on the men's side, can't compete with some of these other countries, or at least that's a theory of why some people think that.
Sure, yeah. Do you play soccer? You must play soccer.
I do, but I didn't grow up playing. I'm from my family's from the Dominican Republic, which is a very big baseball country.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And I grew up playing basketball and handball, like New York handball against the wall. So I didn't grow up playing it, but I actually started playing as an adult. I started playing soccer at 29 years old. I joined the league with a couple other comedians that were playing in Brooklyn, and I went from not knowing how to like juggle a ball or do really anything to like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I played in a $1 million soccer tournament in North Carolina.
Did you win?
I did not win. I would have shown up here in a Cybertruck or something.
Yes.
No, I did not win, but it was unbelievable to be able to like play, and I was there as like the quote unquote celebrity guy playing on the team or whatever.
That's
but
right.
whatever. I mean, it wasn't because of my skill necessarily, but I was like able to like just hold my own and run around and compete with some of these guys. But the that is like sort of the moments I've had. I've interviewed like David Beckham and
is he cool?
He is cool. I mean,
I like him in that
I would say
documentary.
he's much nicer than you would think. Like, he's a very sweet, kind of humble person, and I mean, my favorite people, probably more that I like admire and look up to, are like a lot of the players from the U.S. Women's National Team. So like Megan Rapinoe is like one of my favorite people, and I judge not just like their character and all the things that they've done and like their activism, amazing, but they're also like super funny, and they're like really good on a comedy podcast. Like Megan Rapinoe is genuinely super fun. She would crush on this show.
Nice.
There's another a center back on the national team, Ali Krieger, is another player that I was like, we were interviewing her, and I was like, have you done improv or something? Like, why are you so sharp and like super funny like that? So those are the players I love talking to. I love highlighting the fact that a lot of the American soccer players are funny, and they don't really have other outlets to show that.
You know how like after any sports game, they do like that weird like press conference thing?
Yeah.
And like they'll be like, "Oh, you guys lost. How'd that go?"
Okay, you went to journalism school, right? Sports journalism. You hit them with the hard questions. Yeah. I do know though.
I think these press conferences are so crazy to me, and then the person has to say like, "Yeah, we gave it our all."
Well, I think like the Hooligans tries to be something very different from that, right? To not have like the media trained kind of answers, but working with a lot of like journalists, like that is such an important part of their job. They work for whatever newspaper or website, and they can ask that quote of like getting a quote about like how did it feel to lose that game or whatever, but it's wild how like if you, and we've been in press conferences like that, of like being the comedian being like, oh, let's ask like a silly question or whatever, and those journalists look at us like, what the fuck are you doing here? This ain't for you. This isn't your space.
Wow.
Don't mock what this is. So it's I get the monotony of it, but it's like very important to some people.
But it's like it makes it like super like jarring and noticeable when any athlete is like remotely honest or like has a personality.
100%. I think that's they hope for those moments.
Uh-huh.
The teams themselves hate that because
Yes.
they're like the I know so many like people that work for like in PR or people who work in the communications like media communications department. So they're the ones that are organizing like the is the person that brings up that player is that person's role is to be like don't say the wrong thing. Please, you're gonna make my
Uh-huh.
job harder if you say the wrong thing. And I mean, but that's like life, right? I mean, you don't want to strip away the humanity and the personality from some of these players, and some are more comfortable than others because if they say the wrong thing, hey, maybe the team gets rid of them. They don't get their contract renewed, so they're also young. That's a most athletes are, they're in those positions and being asked very somewhat serious questions, whether it's sports related or not, and they don't want to ruin their careers by
I
saying the
know.
wrong thing. There's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
Are soccer players like more vocal or same as like American football players, for instance?
It depends. I mean, I think when we had like Megan Rapinoe kneeling and in support of Colin
Mm.
Kaepernick, I think that there are you know issues that some players stand up against more. The I think of the WNBA and like the equal pay fight, the U.S. Women's National Team equal pay fight. Like, I mean, it's not highlighted as much now. But look at the fight from like, I mean, and it goes back further than like 10, 12 years ago. But that's when a lot of the progress was made with the U.S. Women's National Team, where the like now like the men and women are paid equally like
Mm-hmm.
and they made that compromise with the US Soccer Federation or not even compromise but that agreement of to say like no matter what the scenario is like the men and women will get paid the same amount of money if the women's success benefits the men as well and vice versa. So I think that's
That's
a
cool.
yeah, that's I think that's
Mm.
a huge sort of statement to make in it.
Yeah.
But it took so much
Yeah.
fighting to get and fighting against the U.S. Soccer Federation, and I've gotten the privilege to speak to players like Michelle Akers, like that played on the '99 team,
Mm-hmm.
and they. I mean, when you hear about the conditions, the first Women's World Cup, which was in 1992, I think, or '91,
Mm.
they they had to wash their own jerseys and
Mm.
shorts and they had to wash their own uniforms. The clothing didn't fit them. They were like hand me downs from like the men's team or something like that. Like
Yeah.
they just like they were treated with such little respect and little regard for who they were as athletes. So when I think about do soccer, some soccer players do. I think it's kind of similar to almost any other sport.
Mm-hmm.
But given the nature of soccer, where you have like you play for a team, like your club team, but then you also play for your national team, and that lends itself more to like you're gonna be asked political questions, right? Like we're in the middle of a World Cup, we're in a war with Iran or conflict, or we don't know what, right? But but the Iranian national team is playing in the United States, but they're not allowed to any game that they play in the United States. They have to fly from Mexico to the United States and leave the same
Mm.
day. Which is like as athletes, how
Yeah.
are you you're preparing for a World Cup, the biggest tournament in your life, and you have to fly in the day of and leave the day of, which is it's such a lack of respect for them as
Yes.
players. Yes, I understand you're fighting the country, but it's like beyond belief of like a disrespect
Yeah.
to them as players.
It's obviously a huge disadvantage. No one feels good the day they're flying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Something that's, well, is crazy about soccer because it's so international. And then, like, every Olympics, these conversations come up about, like, geopolitical things. And then everyone gets called out for, like, being a hypocrite. Like, for instance, do you use the chess.com app?
I mean, great question. I do not. I mean, I'm more of an analog guy when it
Sure.
comes to chess, but
I'm
I I have not. I've never used the app. The last time I played chess online was probably like 30 years ago.
Well, I love chess.com.
Okay.
And to this day, they don't show the Russian flag when you're playing against someone from Russia. They just have like a grayed out rectangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many Russian chess players.
I know.
They dominate.
Yes.
They love this game. That and Tetris, they love it.
And so then, yeah, Tetris. That's so funny. So yeah, like Iranian soccer players like getting punished for their government, I guess,
Exactly.
or
Yeah. Well, that I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, but like
sure.
their Iranian national team arrived to Mexico. They're playing in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't allowed to go, and so that was the agreement. Mexico accepted them, and they arrived. They got off the plane, and they're wearing these pins. I believe that said 168, which was the school the schoolgirls, and they were showing it to show support, and they were welcomed with open arms in Mexico, and it was like an awesome thing to see. But again, it's like we need to highlight the things that our country does wrong. I mean, I think that's the point of everything, all the work you're doing and everything.
Sure, yeah.
So I think a lot of it is the reason they're being petty in that sense is to avoid that kind of criticism or public embarrassment over what happened.
Yeah. And was the last World Cup in Qatar, or where was it?
It was in
Okay.
Qatar, yeah.
And I remember then there were conversations about like, oh, this is sports washing, and it's like, I don't know if it is or not. Like when these things come up in the news, I feel like I would love to see people have like a real conversation about this, because I have so many questions. Like, are they sports washing? Are they worse than the U.S. or Israel or Russia or anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of places to go here, because it's like, it feels like the sports washing is coming from inside the house, right?
Yes. I feel like, sorry to everyone who loves America, and I love America as well.
If you're watching the show, you don't love America, okay?
Our whole thing is soft power. Our whole thing is we go and invade everywhere, but then we make movies and have awesome NBA guys that everybody loves.
And then just it's John Krasinski in a tight shirt and a gun, right?
Yes,
We changed.
Right? And then people in other countries, they watch Mission Impossible on VHS, and they're like, I like America,
Yeah. It's a good, it sort of works, and it's worked for a very long time.
Yes. I guess that's why we can call it out so easily. We're like, I see what you're doing.
But it is, I mean, you were mentioning Russia. So Russia, and when it came to FIFA, as soon as they invaded Ukraine, the next day FIFA was like, you're done, you're out. And now, so the UEFA is the European Confederation. So that's all the teams in Europe, and they play in. They have something called the UEFA Champions League. So those are basically, for the lack of a better explanation to simplify it, the best 4 teams in every country in Europe. After they play their domestic leagues and domestic season, the best 4 teams are put into another competition called the Champions League. So these are all the best teams within Europe, and they all play against each other. And this is so the games of your domestic league are played in the weekend, and then the Champions League is played on the weekdays, on Wednesdays and on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. This competition, this Tuesday and Wednesday competition, makes so much money, billions of dollars. So if you get into this competition, you immediately, just by qualifying into it, your club will make, let's say, $60 million or $100 million, something like that. So you really want to qualify into this tournament, because it leads to more money for your club. You can buy better players. And then you can just keep going over and over. You can keep qualifying to the Champions League and keep bringing so much money to your team. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the president of FIFA was like, you're out. And kicked out Russia from any European competition. So they went from hosting the World Cup in 2018 to Now Russia doesn't play. They can't qualify for a World Cup. They can't do anything. The teams that play in Russia can't qualify for the Champions League. So they can play in their domestic league, but they will never get the opportunity to
So they're
make
sanctioned.
so they're sanctioned
Yeah.
essentially. So a lot of people are calling out the hypocrisy of like, well, we see what Israel's doing.
Yeah.
Why can't FIFA and you see that even symbolically, FIFA kicking out Russia says, "Hey, we're gonna impact even your economy for the billionaires that own these teams. Like, we have to set a point. We have to set a boundary of like, if you did this, so this is the consequence." Arguably, to who maybe Ukrainians won't necessarily agree, but like what Israel's doing is way worse. And the fact that FIFA hasn't stepped in to show that same symbolism of like we won't allow you to participate in the sport in this continent if this is how you behave. And for the fact that again Israel is allowed to act with impunity in so many other ways than outside of soccer, but because soccer is such a popular sport, the fact that FIFA hasn't stood up against this is, I mean, it's ridiculous, but it also shows like they're clearly influenced by whoever it is to not punish Israel.
Yeah.
That's really all you can do. It's wildly frustrating, and I think
they have like a bias towards the United States, Israel, and Gulf states, pretty much, that their human rights abuses.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to lump them all in together.
Sure.
I don't know if it's necessarily that. I think it's just the influence that money and capitalism has on any business.
Yeah.
Can bend the rules in their favor. It really stood out to me. I don't know if you remember this story from it was a Champions League game. So Maccabi Tel Aviv qualified for Champions League. Also, this is another weird thing. Israel participates in European competitions.
Sure.
Which is like, are you in Europe
you
or
can't have it both ways?
So and the
pick one.
And it's a weird. So one of the reasons why they participate in European competitions is because the Asian. So there's an Asian Champions League that that the countries in the Middle East and Asia come. So it's a Champions League, same exact concept, but they play in just a different part of the world.
Yeah.
But when Israel was like, oh, we want to play in this competition, they're like, no, you're constantly bombing us. Like, why would we welcome?
Oh,
they don't
I
want.
see.
They protest against playing Israel. They don't want to play them and stuff like that. So that's why Israel plays in the European competition.
Very interesting.
So Maccabi Tel Aviv, they go and they're known as they're very right wing club. And it's weird to think that there's any other Israeli type of club or whatever, but they played in a Champions League game against they were in I think Ajax. So this is in Amsterdam. I think it's against Ajax. I don't remember what team they were playing. But they, soccer fans, and they're like loud, and they'll we sort of know like hooligans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I'm familiar.
Yeah. So for the most part, like the hooligan culture has kind of subsided a lot. It still exists in a couple cities and stuff like that. It's not that it's not gone entirely, but they, you can look this up. They went to Amsterdam, started terrorizing, breaking things, fighting people. There's video of them singing chants about death to Arabs and just like the most like horrible stuff. And there was such a coordinated.
The Maccabi's fans did this.
Maccabi Tel Aviv's fans did this. So they're easily a group of like, I don't know, 800 to 1,000 people. Like taking the metro to the stadium or coming back from the stadium or whatever. And they, after all this, and all these videos of like them pulling down Palestinian flags and all this other stuff. There was a coordinated media effort from, and not just media, but like leaders of the world, like Biden, different presidents, prime minister, everybody put out a tweet being like, the rampant anti-Semitism in Amsterdam. I cannot believe the scenes I'm seeing. It is like the complete opposite of
Yes.
what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And then the statements that are being made are I mean, it's like a joke. I'm like, all right, are you're playing in my face, as they say,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it was, I think, the one of the first times that I was like, you don't want to have, like, it's not even about conspiracy theories. It's just like, this is ridiculous. Like
Yes.
this is so blatant. And for there are people that don't care about soccer, right? And they will see what the president is posting, and this is a Democratic president or whatever, and who is blatantly lying. 'Cause, like, this
Yeah.
is just not what happened at all, and it goes against even what people are saying. What like I think like the prime minister or president of the Netherlands, like what everybody's saying is like not what they're saying on the ground is not what is what being reported.
Right.
And it's just like, how are you? You talk about like soft power and the political influence and the cover that Israel gets. I mean, and this is how you do it, right? And it's like, okay, I can comprehend what maybe what Israeli people do in Israel, and maybe I can understand maybe that being defended. I understand that if that's the propaganda you want to push, cool, fine, I guess. I understand that's the move that and the strategy you're going with. But it's Israeli people going to another country, terrorizing them, and then being like, how dare you be anti-Semitic towards me? And it's like, what the hell is this?
I know. It's so evil.
It's there's no other word for it.
So I know that like a lot of Irish soccer fans, they had like a campaign, show Israel the red card. Do you know this?
Yes, I do.
What is this? I don't even know what this is.
It's really just pressuring FIFA to ban Israel from all competition. So kind of like what they did to Russia. And credit to Ireland. I love Ireland.
Me too.
This is a big reason why I'm doing the show. No,
That's right.
I went to Ireland in 2012. My brother plays I was telling you handball. That's why so Ireland handball originally came from Ireland. It came from Irish immigrants who brought the game to New York. I think they like petitioned to like Fiorello LaGuardia, the former mayor, to build handball courts in every park, and that's why in New York you see handball courts in every every place.
I never knew that.
So I went to Kilmainham Jail in Dublin.
I've been there.
Right? and there's if you went to the museum, they were playing handball in this prison. So I went to Ireland, and I'm like, man, this place is awesome. Like, I didn't know much about it before I went there, and I was like, I like love these people. I don't know why. Everyone's just like super nice. A lot of time, it was somewhat awkward sometimes, because sometimes like some Irish people had like never been around a person of color, and they're like super excited, like getting like they heard I'm from the U.S. and they wanted to just like talk. They would some of them would like drop the N-word, but not calling me that. They just like, hey, a black person, I want to say the N-word. This is a cool thing that Americans do, right? It was really like,
you'll like this.
I know you're gonna love this. I pull this out at parties and it crushes, right? But I went to Kilmainham Jail. I saw somebody told me like, oh, they filmed In the Name of the Father.
They also filmed Paddington 2 there.
Okay. I mean, 2 movies on equal footing.
Yeah.
So Daniel Day-Lewis classic and Paddington. But I saw that movie. Then I was like, that's it. I'm locked in. I'm watching every Irish film, as they say. And then I saw like The Wind That Shakes the Barley, Michael Collins, the what's the one with the band, The Remembrance or something. I forgot what the name. But fell in love with the culture, and then started to understand like the history of colonialism and oppression and everything that they were fighting against, and the trauma, and why there's a lot of alcoholism and all this other stuff, and then in just the last few years, seeing the kneecap and seeing all these guys like just fight against like what is happening, and just like, the never again, and it's never again means for anybody and stuff like that. And so it's been awesome seeing what like the Irish are
Yeah.
leading in this. Yeah.
It's really cool. I have been aware of the Palestinian cause for years and years, but learned pretty early on, like, don't fucking talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
You can know, but don't
yes.
repeat it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and almost like damned if you do, because if you talk about it, people don't know what's going on, and they're so propagandized that they're going to be like, ew, like, why are you talking about this? You know what
Sure,
I mean?
it's like a downer.
Yes. Or they'll, be like, why do you care about Israel? Other countries are bad. Like, that's weird.
It's a strange, like, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
weird answer, and a strange response to like a bad thing happening. Because I try to like equate that rationale
Mm-hmm.
to anything, like, oh, your your dad abuses you. There's a lot of bad dads out there.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a weird
I know.
deflection.
I know. And I kind of, noticed over the years that, like, Jewish Voice for Peace, it seemed like they get a lot of blowback, but it seemed like they get a pass to talk about it in public and say, hey, we've been through this. We have an authority to talk about
Yeah.
this. And of course, people from Arab countries can talk about it and say, no, this is our experience with Israel. And I feel like for a long time, it was like taboo for anyone else to talk about it, because it was like, this isn't your business. Don't insert yourself. And I feel like when the Kneecap guys and Sally Rooney and some of these Irish celebrities, Nicola Coughlan, what's his name from Succession, right? Well, anyways, all these Irish celebrities, they come out and they say, like, this is wrong, this is genocide, and we're Irish, and fuck you, we're going to call it what it is. I feel like that kind of gave like an entryway for Irish Americans to say, yes, we can say it too. It's not fucking weird for us to say it. And
Yeah, I think it should be like that snowball effect where more people get. My family's from the Dominican Republic, right? I mean, like, and I'm married to a Jewish woman, and like for years I thought I sort of understood. Like, one of my best friends who lives in LA, shout out to Musa Kreish. He's a actor and just a great person. But I remember I was here maybe a few maybe months after October 7th and having a conversation with him, and he's Palestinian. I grew up with him. I understood he was Palestinian, but not knowing much. He didn't really like talk too much about his upbringing or past or why he was living in Brooklyn and why I just didn't know any of this stuff. And then it's like this wave of like context hits, and you're like, holy shit! Like, now I understand like his and I'm like not doing it justice 'cause I don't know everything, offhand, but like, his father stayed in was living in Jordan, and like taking care of the family back in Brooklyn, and it was a large family, and all these things. Like, there's
and you think of like how much shit these people have to eat all the time, like how much like rude shit people say to Palestinian Americans, and like if you react at all, it's kind of the same thing as like a lot of Black Americans say, like, if someone's being rude to me and I react, they're going to say, you're angry, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And it's been a challenging time, even for like our family. Like, my wife had to deal with, just even like kind of posting anything in like solidarity with Palestinians, just like these, it's the cruelty that you're witnessing, like how you have to be kind of heartless to like have no sympathy for it. And even she would post something, and then there would be like criticism from like friends or family or weird DMs, and it's just like, these are like people, I'm like, you are my wedding, like, this is gross. Like, why would you I understand maybe, whatever, wherever you sort of stand politically or whatever, but like, you see that something terrible is happening, and it's like it there's a clear line of like, all right, I would say, like, if I was around somebody that was supportive or even sympathetic to like the Holocaust, I'd be like, you're a gross person.
Yes.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know where we're gonna
I
find
know.
common ground. This is like a pretty defining perspective that
Yeah.
I can't.
It's
I
so hard. I mean, yeah, some people you really can't convince. I mean, you think of like, what if this was the other way around? What if we said this about the Holocaust? What if we said, and it just doesn't
Yeah,
break through.
I think what it's helped me sort of like learn more about and just I've just been more interested in learning about colonialism and capitalism and anti-capitalism.
Yeah.
And been reading a bunch of stuff about Cuba. Been reading stuff about Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
Been reading stuff about Dominican Republic. I mean, even on a personal note, like I have a very vivid memory of like going to the Dominican Republic when for the first time I went alone. I went when I was like 17 or 18, and Haiti and Dominican Republic have a very long history, a lot of wars and all this stuff. But
Mm.
there was around the time like my parents were born, there was like a very well-known like genocide of Haitian people. They ethnically cleansed Haitian people from the Dominican Republic.
Mhm.
The dictator Rafael Trujillo did that, and even just through learning about that, I had a conversation with my dad about. I was reading this book called The Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz,
Mm.
and it's a fictional book, but the story is sort of based in the Dominican Republic around this like this time and this dictator. And I'm telling my dad about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I lost a brother. He was killed by that regime." I'm like, "You didn't
Yeah.
tell me I had an uncle,
Yes.
another uncle. I
My
never
parents do that too.
like, you don't want to bring this up ever,
Yeah.
like." And so it's connected me with that. I don't know, that part of my humanity of like because I remember I was in Dominican Republic and I was again by myself, and I was with my cousin, and we are at like my family's come from like a very poor area, so nobody really goes to like nightclubs and stuff like that. You just
Mhm.
like you go they like the bodegas outside, and like on the corner bodegas they put speakers outside,
Mm.
and on weekends that's the club, so you just like dance
Yeah.
in the middle of the street. It's like
That's
really
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I remember hanging out there, and I was with my cousin and a bunch of her friends, and there was like a Haitian guy that was there with like his girlfriend or something, and there are plenty of Haitian people that live in the Dominican Republic. It's not like a huge deal, but I was again like 18 years old, and I'm with people that are between 16 and 20 years old, and they're like mocking this Haitian guy. They're
Mm.
making like nobody's like threatening him or anything, but they're just like for lack of, they're just being racist or
Yeah.
like being like dismissive and rude. And this is like, and it's not based on color of skin. We're all the same skin color, but he has a different accent and comes from a different country. And it really, even in the moment, I'm like, this feels gross. Like, why are you being mean to him? He didn't do anything to anybody. But there's and from then to now, I mean, you see politically the Haitian people that are in the Dominican Republic are kept like as a lower class. To they the same things you sort of hear here about like Dominican Republic is a little bit more rigid with citizenship laws. Like even if you're born there, if you're not from at least one Dominican parent, you're not considered Dominican.
Mm.
So you have less access to social services, less access to certain jobs. So it makes it really difficult to be a Haitian in that country. And again, so the Palestine fight to me is so symbolic
Yes.
to what
Yeah.
other countries deal with. The same of like maintaining a lower class to essentially you're not enslaving them, but you're keeping them as low as possible to exploit them.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much similar with Palestine to Ireland. I mean, where to begin? Well,
you can
first
connect
of
the
all,
dots very quickly.
like during the Troubles, when there would be violence, you would read the BBC and the New York Times, and the way that everything was phrased is the way that things are phrased now in Israel and Palestine. It's always the UK and Britain versus the IRA. Like it's a
Right, right, right.
country versus a terrorist group. It's Israel versus Hamas. It's Israel versus Hezbollah. And you're just like, why can't these headlines just say you're bombing Lebanon when that's what's happening?
Right, right.
Like,
I mean, there's I've have you seen those videos of because like Hezbollah releases the drone videos, the footage of them like destroying tanks or attacking soldiers and stuff like
yeah.
that. And I mean, the comment section is usually like, my favorite movie's on, kind of stuff.
Right, yes. Oh, cool music festival. Yes,
right.
yeah.
So, but it's something like I find it funny, right, when I see those comments too. But then it's like, I wish that we lived in a world where that even me seeing that is like horrible, but we see it as retribution because it's like
Yeah.
this unwillingness to stop this either just war and constant carnage. When you see it, when the aggressor has to deal with it as well, you're like, all right, well, some good news at least, right?
Sure.
But yeah, it's a I mean, I just wish that we weren't seeing any of it at all, because it's such a obvious, like, it's always this not ulterior motive, but like it's the goal is expansion. The goal is to take land, and it's a lot more, I don't know, like traditional than what the way it's reported. I mean, I feel like a lot of headlines or a lot of media is doing PR
Yes.
for
Yeah.
like how do we advertise
Yes.
this colonialism and ethnic cleansing in a way that's
Yes.
Palatable.
Let's make it sound normal.
Yeah.
And anyone who doesn't like this is a terrorist.
Right, and it's just like pick the right side, right?
Yeah. And so that was like something that like people in my family made me aware of since I was like a little kid. So like anytime you read any news article about like rebel forces doing blah blah blah, I always like go on Wikipedia and like read like, okay, what is this group, and like let me try to get more of the facts so that I can understand like what's actually happening here.
It's I think about do you know who Residente is? Calle 13. He is a Puerto Rican rapper.
Okay.
So Calle 13 is the group, and then he goes by Residente. His a very popular song, his like first hit song was this reggaeton song called Atrévete, right? And in the song, he has a lyric that goes, he's sort of making like a simile or like a comparison of like saying like to pop off, like something cool popping off. But he says, quiero explotar como un palestino. Like, I want to blow up like a Palestinian.
Wow.
So he's not,
Wow.
obviously, so at the time, this song came out in like, I don't know, 2005 or something
Yeah.
like that. And it's been awesome to see him talk about that now. He's like, the only lyric I ever regret writing in my life is that one.
Wow.
And because at the time it was like a cool, fun thing to say, and we know who we're sort of making fun of,
Yeah.
because they blow up and they're terrorists and blah blah blah. But now with the context of like everything he knows now, and he's been a huge advocate and support of Palestine, and it's just, again, it's just an awesome thing to see people like learning, and I feel the same exact way. Like I feel a terrible regret of like, and maybe I shouldn't necessarily, and people have told me this, but I'm like, I wish I knew about this. I wish I wasn't so easily influenced by American propaganda and all this other stuff. Like, it's so it just strips away of like who you are as a person, and kind of like the world. You realize the world could be better if we just I honestly believe that it could.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I feel like a lot of us, when we try to make like parallels of what's going on in Palestine to other places, to Ireland or South Africa, it's like we're trying to offer solutions. Like the international community stepped in to North Ireland and like negotiated a peace deal. So we see that and we say that worked for us. There's less violence now. Let's do that now. Let's have like an honest listen to each side's.
Watch Dairy Girls.
Yeah. And South Africa, the whole world boycotted them and sanctioned them and had music artists didn't go there and all this kind of stuff, and that made the population. I mean, this is why the United States allegedly sanctions countries, is they want the population to rise up.
I know.
But this actually worked. The people in the country said, "Oh, we can't. We don't like apartheid. We don't like being a pariah in the world." And then when you just say like that worked recently.
Yeah.
You guys remember it. You boomers, this happened in your lifetime. It probably happened when you were at college. So why are you demonizing people trying to do it to Israel when we know it works and it's peaceful?
I mean, that's a question I always come back to. Like, even when I'm talking to people or arguing with people, I'm like, why are you defending this so hard? Like, what do you get some sort of like an affiliate fee for like supporting this? And it has to come back to. It has to go back to capitalism, right? Because like, if there wasn't some financial incentive to keep Israel afloat, who would support it, right? Like, I understand you want a Jewish homeland and all this other stuff, but like, at what cost? I mean, is it worth? Not even just people hating you, but like committing these absolute atrocities and being in constant, being a constant, essentially threat to everyone around you. Is it worth supporting it? Like, I mean, clearly, like when you see like Miriam Adelson at the White House and giving all this money to the president, and it's like, I see Israel more as now like a really no different than like a company that is really doing everything in their power to stay afloat and doing and they need investment but Israel has a huge problem, whether demographics, right? They need people moving there to live there to sustain the country. And they can't do that if people are like, well, I don't want people to hate me, or I'm worried about being bombed or whatever. So it just becomes this like weird like corporation that is like just being like evil and like has no they're not, almost like they're not focusing on just like creating a loving community and being good to your neighbors. Like, that isn't the priority. It's like, what like Hassan Piker is saying about like it being like a military base in for Western countries to have influence in that area. So it's just it feels so much more transparent, and it's getting harder to defend.
And just like, it doesn't fucking have to be that way. Like, just have one state.
Anybody can go and
call it Israel-Palestine, maybe. I don't know. Just an idea. Everyone gets equal rights. Everyone can fucking drive on the same roads as each other and not have to go through obligatory checkpoints all the time. Equal rights for everybody. Anybody can marry anybody, work anywhere. It worked for us when we when we ended Jim Crow. People still don't like each other, and there's still problems, but it's better than it was then.
Right.
And I mean, even to just suggest that, people will be like, it's nothing like that. Like, okay. I'm literally telling you like how to have peace, but if you want to keep bombing people, go ahead.
Right. But the bombing people benefits somebody, right? Whether that's weapons company, war profiteers, warmongers, and these are the people that run the region, run the world, and we have to do what they say, I guess. Like, it's so gross that we know what the way to at least just have a just more peaceful society. Yeah. But because some people want to make a whole bunch of money, that isn't an option apparently.
Boomers will hate it if they hear me say this.
How many boomers really tune in like that?
boomers hate it when they hear this. I kind of can't wait for China to just get more powerful and proliferate solar panels and electric energy so that we don't have to be involved in the Middle East for oil all of the time. Obviously, it's weapons companies and it's oil. We don't want the countries to make deals without us and uh, get screwed on oil prices. That's obviously why we're there.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't have to. We don't have to. We have wind and solar.
It sounds
Why
so
can't-
simple.
Why can't the capitalists just figure out how to make money off of that stuff?
All right. I didn't know I was talking to AOC all of a sudden.
It shouldn't be that hard.
I mean, it is, kind of. Well, I mean, China's a great example of like they're like, you know what, we're gonna not invest in constantly fighting people and
Yeah.
war, and they have the best trains and their apartments are like
Yes.
$3 a month for rent. I mean,
Yes,
I see a lot of like videos on my TikTok, pre Larry Ellison,
Sure, yes.
but of like black people who moved to China and just talk about their lives and talk about their
Yes,
rent
yeah.
and all this. I'm like, you don't have bags in your eyes. You are pretty chill. It seems
Yes.
like.
And, again, it goes back to soft power. All of these countries do bad things. All of them do
Yeah,
bad
we're not
things.
saying they don't, right?
All of them do bad things. And I just wish they would not spend their money on war and spend their money on fucking making movies and,
They're
and jobs and stuff.
That's right. There's so many, cool, the new Tamagotchi, whatever it takes. Like, there's so many things that can lead to more capital, right? And that's
Sure.
all you want, right? You want more money. But it's always in new weapons and new bombs and
Yeah.
new ways to like kill people. And I understand there's some element of security that nations need,
Yeah.
but it's just so obvious that like the Israel feels like the like Western countries sort of like how like when like a shell company, like it's not, the United States is not fighting Lebanon.
Right.
It's Israel. But it's like, well, they wouldn't be able to fight Lebanon if it wasn't for us.
Yeah.
And so there are people profiting off of the fact that this constant conflict is benefiting somebody. So it's getting harder and harder to hide that. And clearly that's what it is. I mean, it is a front so that, the UK, a lot of countries in Europe don't have, the European Union, like, don't have to deal with that, but they get to reap the rewards of the resources that they can control in that region. And there just has to be another way
Yeah.
to do this. I understand you want the stuff that they have. Why don't you find a different way to get it? We're figuring this out, Mary.
We are.
That's it. We started with that noise and are ending with that noise.
I want to get back to like soccer teams and foreign influence and
Happy
that
to
kind of things. Like these teams that like get bought by Saudi Arabia, and then some people are like, shh, don't talk about it, and then other people are like, oh, this is horrible. We can't have them influence. And it's like, I genuinely don't know if it's good or bad because currently other countries have influence.
Yeah.
Is it good to have more countries have influence so that
It's like, it being good or bad is probably not the question. Or
Yeah.
I mean, it's like anybody who buys, if you buy a soccer team, you got that money in probably not the kindest of ways,
Correct,
right? So
yeah.
it doesn't matter
Yeah.
whether it's a Saudi company or
Yeah.
or otherwise.
yes, and same goes for like people who can afford American sports teams.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, without doubt. So it, the reason it happens, and it happens a lot more now. I mean, I think the last 20, 30 years has been more investment from Gulf states into soccer because yes, they want to help their image, right? And and if you look at, I've read like books about this. We just interviewed an author. His name is Joey Durso, about how the sponsor on football clubs jerseys kind of tell a story about like the geopolitics in the world. So Arsenal has like Fly Emirates, and so it's not just to like launder their image per se, but it's also to for tourism,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like to get more people to
Mhm.
go to Qatar and go to Saudi Arabia and just
Mhm.
visit and bring those like tourism dollars. So it's a thing where it's like it depends on who you ask, right?
Mhm.
Because it like Newcastle United just got bought by the Saudis, right? I believe it's Saudis. And it was like the prince that like allegedly killed like Jamal Khashoggi.
Mhm.
And there are people that are like, this is horrible. Why would you
Mhm.
let this prince or like that company buy this team? But Newcastle fans are like, we've sucked for so long, and somebody with a lot of money is willing to buy us and bring in great players to change my town, right?
Yeah.
And increase like tourism to my town,
Yeah.
and improve the economy, and maybe
That's
add jobs and stuff like
tricky.
that. So
I mean, that's better than like a data center.
sure.
That's a thing that like will create
So
jobs and create like happy
right,
things.
right. And then your children can't breathe, right, in there or something like that. Right? But that's the and it's not about it being right or wrong. I think it's a bigger sort of discussion of like when it comes to just money and like where do you want to take the money from, and
Yeah.
who do you want to accept the money from, and things like that. So it's it's a difficult question. I mean, it's I mean, there's so many stories. I mean, like for Arsenal Football Club, right? Arsenal just won the Premier League. Earlier this season, they fired their kit man, so the guy who
Mm.
handles all the jerseys for the players and
I
stuff.
watched Ted Lasso.
Let's go. Mary's locked in. So they fired the kit man for being vocal about Palestine,
Wow.
and
Okay.
it's like so. But the owner
Mm.
of Arsenal is Kroenke, owner of the LA Rams,
Okay.
owner of the Colorado Rapids in MLS or whatever. So, but and then their new soccer jersey has they have a shirt sleeve sponsor, and it's like I think a financial company or something like that. But the financial company is based in Israel. So
Mm.
fans, Arsenal are an incredibly diverse club. I mean, I've hung out with Arsenal fans. They now the name is not as great, but their nickname is the Gunners because their logo is like a cannon.
Mhm.
And then they used to would be called the Gooners,
Okay.
which is like not not really cool anymore. It kind of ruined it.
Why'd you do that?
Why? It's people who masturbate ruin everything for everybody. Anyway, no, but so they have like the gay gooners,
Mhm.
and they have and it's
Oh, this is fun.
yeah,
I
it's like
this.
it's like incredibly diverse. I mean, there's so many like Muslim and black and like West African
Mhm.
and like the diversity of like the fan base is incredible, and some people are being more vocal than others about it because it's obviously very disappointing to them, but it's hard to detach and it's like it's yes there's the politics of Israel, but it's hard to detach like financially from
Yeah.
you need the money, right? The fans and I can always I'm speaking just as like soccer fans, like they want their team to do
I
well,
know.
and that community around the sport. This is why I love soccer so much. It's like it's not like NFL, it's not like NBA. Like there is a true community. You're not a fan, you are a supporter. And it's like you do that for life. And there's like community related events. You are meeting people that sort of are that I don't know, like gravitate towards the club everywhere. Like I'm an Everton fan and they play in Liverpool. When Everton plays in the United States, I'll go see them, and then everybody from the United States that supports this team has like this pilgrimage where they all go, and
Hmm.
everyone's so nice and supportive. They people are coming from England, different parts of this country, and there's the community aspect of soccer is something that it's hard to duplicate, and other sports try to do this. The Clippers built the like supporters section, right? That is like standing only. That's a soccer thing that they brought because
Sure.
they want that energy. Like if you ever
Mm-hmm.
see a basketball game in Serbia is like nuts. I mean, nobody sits down. It is not like this corporate sort of thing. And so fans have to struggle with like, I want my team to succeed, but I also don't want to compromise my values entirely. And a lot of times you have to.
Yeah.
And that's not me casting any judgment on them. I mean, not just sports has to deal with this. Almost every aspect. You go to Walmart, you're compromising
Yeah.
some you're making some level of compromise. So whether it's good or bad, I think it's good that people are highlighting it because you hold like the owners accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And really the only way to make a real change is to not buy tickets to the game, right? Not
Yeah.
go. But how can you tell that to somebody who supported a team for their family for
Yeah.
100 years, and you're gonna say, "Oh, don't go anymore because they made some deal with a company you don't like." And again, I would 1,000% respect if you did, but I understand if you
Right.
don't as well.
I mean, I'm a Yankee fan. I come from a long line of Yankee fans, and
And they love Charlie Kirk for some
yes,
reason.
we had a
Why?
moment of silence for Charlie Kirk, and
Let's go Mets.
the LA Dodgers, the owner donates to ICE, I think, and like
Oh,
he's invested in Geo Group, the private detention center
Yeah.
company, and you know, the fan base is like hugely Latino.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I'm not gonna stop liking the Yankees. They're not gonna stop liking the Dodgers.
It's difficult, but this is how you see like sports and teams can get co-opted
Yeah.
by some bad people. That's why like I've been to Germany a couple times, and Germany is interesting because they have a very almost communist way of handling their soccer.
That's right.
Right, and it's like one of the aspects of
Mhm.
like their economy where this is allowed, where they have something called the 50+1 rule, which means that 51% of the team has to be owned by the fans. So they buy these memberships and they build up the money to basically say an owner can't come in here and be like, all right, we're changing everything. We're getting whatever sponsors we want and we're doing whatever, because they ultimately they don't have the deciding vote. The any vote, I mean, the owner has that 49%, but the fans can vote against them if they don't agree with the direction that the club is going in, and that usually leads to the club being less successful, less competitive. They can't compete with the other
Right,
teams in
yeah.
Europe because they're spending like crazy. But regardless of the lack of success, they're like, we're not changing this. Like, if you don't like it, go buy a team somewhere else.
Mhm.
And I just have a ton of respect for it. I mean, some clubs have many different identities. As one of my favorites is FC St. Pauli. They play in Hamburg, and I was there a couple months ago, and I did the stadium tour, and you see a thing about just a thing about Germany as a whole, but you go through the museum and you see the players like at the beginning. You see photos of the players at the beginning of matches doing Nazi salutes and stuff like that, and they could easily remove this stuff from the museum, but they don't, because they
Yeah.
this is a part of our history. This was
Wow.
wrong. And any stadium, I've gone to Dortmund, I've gone to Eintracht Frankfurt, and this is a part of their history, and they learn about it. They know why it's wrong. They know why it's terrible, and they are reminded about it in many aspects of their life. And FC St. Pauli is probably more extreme left wing. Hamburg was a very punk rock kind of scene, like artists and musicians, and they really they there was a they, I think it got so the club got kind of popular because there was there was a neighborhood in Hamburg that was like ignored, and so they had squatters, like these abandoned building, and then the government was like, the police were like, all right, you got to get these people out of here, and they barricaded streets, like the people barricaded streets and didn't allow cops
That's
in.
cool.
And so the FC St. Pauli, so those people gravitated toward FC St. Pauli. They started sort of redesigning the identity of the club, and like the skull and crossbones with like rainbows was a big thing. So they were just all super inclusive. I walked around the stadium, and the stadium has all these signs of like, everyone is welcome. Like, if very direct, like if you hate women, you're not welcome here. Like very just and not many clubs are not that explicit about
Mm-hmm.
being inclusive. So that's generally like what in the sport. You have certain places and certain areas that kind of reflect the identities of the city and stuff like that. But it's so different than American sports. You would never see that with any
No,
American
no,
team, like
never.
because they'd be worried about the sponsorship they may lose.
Yes.
FC St. Pauli just got relegated, which is they lost and they got sent to the second division. So this is like a big risk in soccer outside of American sports. We're like most people are not familiar with it here, but if you lose, you basically get sent to like the NCAA. Or just like the minor leagues or something, and your whole team has to go play, and you have to win in the minor leagues to get back to the major leagues. And you could totally understand people being like, oh, no, I don't want to risk anything because if a team is bad, we get punished so severely financially.
Let's have a prince just come in here.
You could totally, and I really respect like clubs and just people that stand for something at the and when there's something clearly at risk.
Well, Christian, I want to talk to you for 10 more hours.
Same, man.
But you have an event to go to.
I have to go to a Puma event. Yeah.
That's right, for your big soccer adventure.
100%. You got a Puma jersey, a shirt on from Cuba, and I just want to say this because I had messaged you this, but Mary, like I have just utmost admiration and respect for all the work that you do, and I know the last few years you've been talking a lot more about this, but from the comedy world, like really kind of efforting and encouraging people to like speak up about this, especially our peers in comedy. And I think it's awesome, and it's had a huge effect on me. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. You're so nice. Well, I'm very proud of you and excited for everything you get to do. And I'm excited that we're friends.
Likewise. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers.